All right, Joel here from the Board Game Mechanics. Doing a quick Kickstarter preview. I don't normally do these previews, but I'm doing one for this one for Knights of Glory. This game is coming to us from Blue Gear Games. If you want to find out more about this game, they've got some really nice videos on their Kickstarter page of a gameplay. So I don't go into a full gameplay on this. I think I try and give you a good idea of what's happening in this game. But that's available in the description below. I guess without talking too much more here up top, let's get right to it. And let's look at how this game sets up in place. All right, setup. Let's start there. I have my dungeon or my danger or whatever already set up here. But what we'd do is we'd stack the cards up and separate them by their tiers. We'd shuffle them up, and then we put 2 down from each of the tiers. So a total of 6 cards, 2 from tier 1, 2 from tier 2, 2 from tier 3. Then we're going to put our start and exit cards down, place all of our player pawns on the start card, and that's our board setup. I'm going to call that our board, I guess. It's kind of like an array of cards. Next, I have to shuffle these cards up and get this deck ready for the game. In a 3-player game, which I'm going to demonstrate here, we would put 2 of each weapon card in there. We would put then 3 wilds and 2 gestures into our deck for setup, shuffle those up, give each player 5 cards. So you're going to use all the cards that are there because 5 times 2 is 10, plus the additional 5 cards. Every card's used into a hand. Here's a breakdown of the cards that are going to go into our playing deck. We're going to have 5 different types of weapon cards in the deck. So we're going to have 2 copies of each of these 5 weapon cards in the deck. Then we are going to have wild cards. Wild cards are kind of like a way to just pass a die. No bluffing involved with these. You're just going to play these face up and say, you know what? I'm burning this die with the wild, and I don't have to worry about it. Then finally, there's a jester. And a jester is basically there just to serve as like almost like a blank card because it doesn't do anything for you. It's a good bluffing tool. So you can burn a jester by saying, you know what? I have a sword here, and you don't actually have a sword. And so you use that jester in place of that, and it's a way to lie and have a card go down. That's the setup for the game, but there's also some other components I want to make sure that we're aware of. First, there is the rook, which is the first player marker. Then we have these Knights of Glory tokens, which are really important in this game. And you may not understand when you're first learning the game, but those are critical. And that's really a central part of this game, to be honest. Finally, we have the die. And these are prototype die. I'm sure that the final product's die will be better. But they basically have each of the 5 weapon symbols on it, plus a blank side. So those components are going to need to be ready to go when we start playing the game. Have a supply of them ready to go right away. Let's get into gameplay. We've decided who the first player is. We're going to go ahead and just pretend like it's Red. Red's my first player. I pulled him off there just to kind of demonstrate that. But what's going to happen is Red is going to flip this first card over and see his task that he has to complete to go onto that card. Well, he needs to produce either a bomb card or he needs to roll a die and produce a card there. So we're going to pretend like this is Red's hand of cards here. You can see how shiny these cards are, nice quality. Well, he has the bomb. So we have 2 choices here. 3 choices. We can play the wild and just say, you know what, I'm not going to roll a die. And I play that face up and I move on. Probably my worst choice, honestly. Second choice I have is that the bomb was present on that card. So I could say I'm going to play this bomb, no die roll required. Play that face down. See, this is a bomb card and I'm not going to roll a die because I don't need to. Third choice, I guess there's really 4 choices kind of. We could roll a die and whatever symbol comes up, I could try and match it. Or I could use this wild card because you know what, like, I don't know. It might be worth trying that. Or what I might do if I were playing this game, I have 2 swords. So I know that nobody has any swords in their hands right now. That's kind of nice. And I will know that even when that goes in the discard pile. So 2 swords is doing me no good right now, especially when we're only doing the 1 roll checks. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try and bluff, which is really fun in this game. So the bluffing is you know, bluffing's always fun, I guess. So I'm going to play a sword card, but say it's a bomb. So, hey guys, I just put down a bomb card. And so now I said I'd get the symbol of that card. Now they're going to do some voting here. So I, as the red player, did that. So now my green player has 2 cards. He's going to put down one of these 2 cards, and he's going to say, I believe you, or I think you're lying, which he could have done. But we're going to say both players believed him this time, okay? So we're going to flip these cards over. Both people thought he was telling the truth. So what happens then is we do not reveal that card. I know it's a sword. I know if someone says they have a sword, they're lying because I have both swords from the deck in my hand right now. And I move my card on. So now I have choices. I can stay there. I've got 4 cards left in my hand. And with me having this wild, I think it would make sense for me to keep going. But I could say, you know what, I'm going to stick there. Sometimes you don't have that many cards in your hand. Sometimes you don't have a wild. So you might say I'm going to stay put. I could discard cards. So if I had gestures in my hand and I thought, you know what, I want to ditch these gestures for my action this time, I'm going to discard cards. Then my turn's over. Or I can advance. I think I'm going to advance because I have good cards still. Oh, okay, so I've got to pass 1 die now. So the nice thing on that is I do have that wild still. Going to roll this. A bomb. Oh, man, I got really lucky that I saved my bomb, didn't I? So I'm going to say, you know what? I've got another bomb card. And this is where it gets fun because someone else has a bomb card and they think I'm lying. Or was I lying here? So let's just go ahead and take these cards back and we're going to redo our voting. Both people now are going to reveal their cards. Oh, man. They both think I'm lying. So now I do have to show my card. I wasn't lying. I had a bomb. And I said it was a bomb. So now they're both penalized. Normally what would happen is you go back a tier. What happens otherwise, though, is you lose a card. If you're at the beginning, you lose a card. So the 2 players at the start spot there would lose a card. You get penalized. What would happen otherwise, though, if you catch me bluffing? So let's say that I did play something that wasn't. I played a key. And they said I was bluffing, and I was bluffing. Now I have to take a penalty. I go back a level, and they get to come up a level because they caught me bluffing, okay? So that's a really neat way to do this game. So by lying, I pushed my luck a little bit there. They caught me. They get to move forward. So these cards keep getting revealed as we move through the dungeon, and they get harder and harder. So at tier 2 here, you can see I have 2 die symbols and a key. So I could reduce the die that I roll by 1 by having a key that I produce, face down, obviously. Whenever it's a weapon, anything but wilds are going to be played face down. So I would roll 1 die and have to produce a key, or I could say, you know, I don't have any keys, roll 2 die, and we keep going through the game like that until we get all the way to the exit. So what's going to happen that's unique with the exit is I can't bluff to get into the exit. So that's so hard. 4 die, 5 cards. I would need to have like a ton of wilds and just be super lucky to get out. But there is one other thing in this game we haven't talked about yet, and that are these Knights of Glory tokens. And so I want to talk about those now. So there's a couple ways that you can get these Knights of Glory tokens. The first way you can get them is by, you know how you move up a tier if you catch someone bluffing? Well, if I'm here, I can't move up a tier to win the game. That'd be really nice, but we don't do that in this game. So if I caught someone bluffing and I'm here, instead of being able to just leave the game, I get a token. Another way too is once someone hits the exit, all my gesture cards become wild cards. I can cash those in for tokens. Okay? And another way to go is I say I'm going to go to tier 3, but I have 2 weapon cards in my hand. So I'm going to a tier that's higher than the number of cards in my hand, which is kind of insane. But if I successfully advance to that one, then I will get another Knight of Glory token. So it's a reason to keep pushing my luck like into insane situations. So what you would do with that is maybe you had 2 wild cards in your hand. You'd roll 3 die, hope that one of them comes out blank. So you'd have like a 1 in 3 chance, or 1 in 2 chance, I guess, if you're rolling 3 die, that you would roll a blank and just hope that you got that and then had wilds for the other 2 maybe. I don't know. That's a really risky move. The other thing too, the way how you're mostly going to get them is you're going to mostly get them from death traps. Let's take a look at death traps. A death trap didn't appear in my layout of cards, but a death trap is known for being a death trap because it has that glowing die there. What happens with a death trap is a death trap, if I don't successfully pass it, I go to the start of the game. Start all over. So it's a big risk, but also a big reward. So I have an optional die roll. So a tier 2 card is normally going to be 2 die. I could choose if I wanted to only roll 1 die. I only have to roll that non-glowing die. And so I could roll 1 die and move on. But I could roll 2 die, and if I pass that glowing die, for every glowing die I pass, I get a Knight of Glory token. And again, those Knights of Glory tokens are so important. So I would maybe choose to do that to get a Knights of Glory token. Let's talk for a second here about the end of the game. Once the first player reaches the exit, so let's say the green player did get 4 tokens. Congratulations, you just won the game. But blue and red may not have necessarily lost. Because what happens now, let's say red's back here in tier 2. What may happen now is that blue may also be a winner. So everyone gets a final chance to try and get to the final destination. And the big change here is there is no longer bluffing. You have to use the resources to get through it. So if you stockpiled some resources for the end of the game, you can burn them all up here to try and make it to the exit and be a winner as well. So one other thing to notice when you exit, the first player who exits, all the tier 1 cards are what they call collapsed. They collapse, they're no longer in the game. So if someone's on a tier 1 card, they fall into the lava, they're out of the game. They don't even get a chance to go in the last turn. Let's say blue goes, he does get the exit because he had enough wild cards set up, he had a successful roll, whatever happened that he got to exit. Now the tier 2 cards come out because 2 players are on the exit, and red would lose by default. So you could have 2 winners in this game possibly. Kind of a cool way that you can have a couple winners at the end of the game. And it feels bad in a race game that one player just got an extra turn and that's why they won. So they kind of get rid of that by letting there be more than one winner. So that's a real coarse sketch of the game. Not exactly everything in the game, but a lot of it. I hope you get a good sense of the game. If you want more than that, I would suggest there's a full gameplay from the game's creators on their Kickstarter page in the description below. So check that out if you want more than what I just gave you there. I'm going to give you some thoughts now to wrap this video up about this game and what I think about it. I'm going to do it a little differently here. I'm just going to talk about some highlights of this game and then just kind of tell you who I think it's for. I'm not going to go into the full review that I normally do on games because I haven't been exposed to this game long enough to really give it a fair review. So this game has really nice quality cards. You could see that in the video. They're really good glossy cards with a nice finish on them. It was almost kind of hard to film this game because the cards are so glossy and nice. I anticipate that the final product will have cards at least that nice in it. I've never heard of a prototype having nicer components than the final product, so I think it will have really nice components in it. I like that they're on their Kickstarter doing a thing where you can basically print and play this game and 3D print the parts, and that's pretty cool. I like that. You could probably just find pawns and stuff, but get a print and play so you can try it out before you back it. Again, look at the Kickstarter in the description below. I like that a lot, but the quality of the components is really good. And the art, they went a different direction with it than what you'd expect from most Camelot type fantasy games. And you know what? That's not bad. To go a different direction with something and put unique art on it makes your game uniquely yours. So that's pretty cool. Also, one thing I want to mention while I'm thinking about it, when we're talking about components, is there's a deluxe edition of this game available over on the Kickstarter page where you do get miniatures instead of just having these little pawns. So, I don't know, maybe we're thinking about. Maybe you want to check out the miniatures for a little additional price there. So this game has a really light appeal to it. I mean, not light appeal, but like light complexity that's going to appeal to a broad number of people. So this is a game that you could definitely get to the table pretty quickly with family gatherings. You could get to the game day between rounds of stuff. It also, even in the directions, talks about how you can deal people in and out. So if you're waiting for people to show up on game day, you can start playing this, deal people in, and go from there. So, or if it's at the end of the game night, people need to leave, you can get dealt out too. So that's kind of a cool flexibility with playing this game as well. I think this game is a really interesting mesh of existing games. It reminds me a lot of a game that is called BS or called Bullcrap, where you have just a standard deck of cards and you put down cards into a discard pile and you call your shot, kind of. You say face down, you say, hey, I've got 3 4s here, and someone else might have 2 4s in their hand, so they know you're lying and they call you on it. They say bullcrap, pick those cards up, Or you may say I have 3 4s and someone doesn't know you're lying, but they think you're lying because they're reading your face. You flip it over and there's 3 4s, then they pick the pile of cards up. This kind of reminds me of that a little bit. That whole like, am I lying or not? And then I'm going to call you on it is definitely very present in this game. It's really kind of at the core of the game. The push your luck stuff is pretty present too. So if you like that game I described, if you played that game and liked it, you'd probably really like this game. I think you'd probably really love this game, actually, to be honest. But the other piece of this game, the other side of it is it's almost like a little bit, it feels like, it's probably because of the cards in a line like that. Ink and Gold is a game that is kind of similar to this game. It reminds me a little bit of that game because in Ink and Gold, you're pushing your luck to try and keep moving on. It happens differently. There's no bluffing in that game, but you're rewarded for pushing your luck, and that's definitely happening in this game as well. So it reminds me of a blend of Ink and Gold and maybe a little bit of put some that bullcrap game in there. So if you like those games, it's good for you. It's probably going to be something you really enjoy. The accessibility of this game, most anybody's going to play this game, be able to play this game. I mean, I don't think people are going to really be overwhelmed by the complexity of this game. And the theme, I can't imagine people having an objection to a knight going through a dungeon that's totally abstracted. There's no gore in this game. There's no scary stuff in this game. So I think the theme will appeal to about everybody. So that's about it. I think this game might be for you if you like that bluffing kind of, I'm going to call you on your lies kind of game. So maybe check it out. Go to the Kickstarter mentioned down below and get some more information there. I've been Joel from the Board Game Mechanics, and thanks for watching this little preview. If you haven't subscribed, maybe do that. Maybe give this a thumb if you liked it. So it really helps us here at the Board Game Mechanics. The other thing, too, is we do have a podcast. We have some other stuff that we do. This is your first video with us you're seeing. There's another half of the duo named Jason. He does way more videos than I do typically. And check his stuff out as well. We do a podcast together. You can find that on our links below here too. So thanks for watching again. And I do appreciate it. And go check out what Blue Gear Games is doing with this game, Knights of Glory.